Chaos Reign. Chaos Reign presents the history of disease, virus, and the food. Broadcast March the 22nd, 2020. Enjoy.
The views expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at TalkRealSolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of TalkRealSolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not TalkRealSolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
In a world where there's crime, corruption, violence, rape, murder, and theft, and all forms of atrocities that plague the world in which we live in today. What you're witnessing, we are living in a state of chaos, and it will take a greater or much extremer chaos to restore the order in which the world we live in today. Good evening, black people. This is Chaos here. And tonight, we're going to deal with some serious things. We're going to deal with the history of a lot of ailments, and we're going to even talk about food. And I think the times we're in now to have this broadcast and discussion is well needed for those who want to be educated. But before we start, I'd like everybody to go to Talk Real Solutions. And on TalkRealSolutions.com, you find all necessary information on the latest news, articles, etc., and also not only what's going on in America, but also outside America. And, we also got a donation tab where you can donate as low as $2 to $5 to the show. And all other additional information is on the website itself. So don't be hesitant, but check us out on TalkRealSolutions.com. Also, you could also find this stream on Talk Real Solutions on YouTube, a new YouTube channel where we start nice and fresh. You'll find all broadcasts, including this one and broadcasts that's done on the show. And another side note, we have a new broadcaster here on Talk World Solutions. And let me give you his name right now. Tom Thompson, if you give me the link to the stream, I'd appreciate it. Let me see what his name is. 1 second. Kingama Speaks Radio is a new broadcaster that will be broadcasting early here on Talk World Solutions. And as y'all know, my show and every other show starts roughly around 9 p.m. Eastern time. Other outlets, it depends. So you could, I guess you could check him out. He just did a broadcast earlier today. It was part enlightening, so I advise check it out. Give your comments and feedback to not only his stream on Talk With Us, but every other stream at the end of every broadcast. You could also find me on YouTube as well, Chaos Reign on YouTube. And you could also follow me on Twitter at Chaos Reign 7. I put some of the shows, and you can hit me up. Try to communicate with me through Twitter as well. And eventually down the line, I will give you other, sites where you could contact or stay in touch with Chaos Reign and the channel itself. So let me do this. And the call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160. Access code 915-411#. So give me 1 second. Title of tonight's show presents History of Disease and Viruses and Food. I guess I'll have to go in it myself with this little history of disease and virus. So let me do my little search. Okay, I think I found it. And maybe if and there's a message here to our readers about COVID-19. I'll break the virus up. We want to research global volunteers bringing trust. And will remain open for all. What's this? Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Well, let's go into the history of viruses. Since people don't really look into these things we call viruses, as I look it up, we'll do the social history of viruses. As I look and read, the social history of viruses describes the influence of viruses and viral infections of human history. Epidemics caused by viruses began when human behavior changed during the Neolithic period or Neolithic period, around 12,000 years ago, when humans developed more densely populated agricultural communities. This allows viruses to spread rapidly and subsequently to become endemic viruses of plants and livestock. Also increase as a human becomes dependent on agriculture and farming. And disease such as pottyvirus of potatoes and round drip pests of cattle had devastating consequences. Smallpox and measles virus are amongst the oldest that infected humans, having evolved from viruses that infect other animals. They first appeared in humans in Europe and North Africa thousands of years ago. The virus were later carried to the New World by Europeans during the time of the Spanish conquest, but the indigenous people had no natural resistance to the virus, and millions of them died during epidemics influencing pandemics have been recorded since 1580, and they have occurred with increasing frequencies in subsequent centuries. The pandemic of 1918 and 1919, in which 40 to 50 million died in less than a year, was one of the most devastating in history. And let me stop right here. And I know they talk about Spanish conquest, but they never talk about Spanish Inquisition, which is another, do a Google search, it explains the Inquisition of that. If y'all did not know, during a lot of the major illness that happens across the world, some of it really came around when what we call lower levels or subhuman or humans that have no carbon or what they call darker skin were the ones that created or bring up what we call infections, disease, virus, etc. And the reason that is not because, well, it is because they live a very different lifestyle than the people that inhabited the earth centuries ago to now. But it's the lifestyle the non-blacks had that caused a lot of disease. And eventually the disease spread throughout their own populations, killing, wiping off thousands to almost millions within a matter of months, years. And eventually that same disease they carried throughout their travels in conquering other territories of land. And if you know, most people or most other groups or cultural tribes got infected and died just getting in contact with other subpar humans. Whether they breathe at them or they actually literally breed them, which means had intercourse, sex with them. They spread their disease, genetics, and fluids to the indigenous populations, which roughly wiped out thousands and millions of them. And even go as far as even procreate and sexually eradicate them by creating other subpar, I guess, humans. So that's one of the things that caused a lot of the deaths of not only in their group, but also others. Louis Pasteur and Edward Jenner were the first to develop vaccines to protect against viral infections. The nature of virus remains unknown until the invention of the electron microscope in the 1930s. So the microscope roughly in existence, and I would say it's created by a male named man or woman. It's been around for over 90 years. So we're now in the new decade. So in the next 10 years, it'll be marked 100 years since the creation of the microscope in its existence. When the science of virology gained momentum in the 20th century, many diseases, both old and new, were found to be caused by viruses. There were epidemics and polyisms, I don't know if I pronounced it right, that were only controlled following the development of a vaccine in the 1950s. And HIV is one of the most pathogenic new viruses to have emerged in centuries, although scientists or scientific interest in them arose because of the disease that caused most viruses and beneficial. They drove evolution by transferring genes across species, playing important roles in ecosystems and are essential to life. And a side note, and people are not aware, that there was a man that wrote a book, and he transitioned the next year, which I'm going to type up now to give you. Let me find it. All right, let me search it now. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name again. It slipped my mind. Oh no, I can find. I know where to find it. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Oh shit! I pressed the wrong button. I'm gonna find it. Give me a second, people. Let me go to all my videos. Oh, here it is. It's this is new. This is very new. I never seen it before. It looked like YouTube kind of put in description of AIDS. Interesting. The man that wrote this book about AIDS, I'm gonna do some editing. The man goes by the name Robert E. Williams, and he wrote the book called The Deadly Deception and the Proof That Sex and HIV absolutely do not cause AIDS. He published this in 1994, and I think roughly that same year or the next year, he made his transition that year. And as you know, the price of his book went up. So if you want to know a little bit more about that information, you can find that on Amazon. And matter of fact, I will put the link here for those that want to, just for the sake of time. There you go. Okay. Now what am I do? I'm just going to go back. All right. Let's see, where was I? Okay. Over the past 5,000 to 1,000, 5,000 to 100,000 years, as modern humans increase in numbers and despair throughout the world, new infectious diseases emerged, including those caused by viruses. Early humans lived in small, isolated communities, and most epidemic disease did not exist. Smallpox, which is the most lethal and devastating viral infection in history, first emerged among agricultural communities in India about 11,000 years ago. The virus, which only infects humans, probably descends from the poxvirus of rodents. And to let people know, it's not that other cultures across this world that eat rodents like mice, rats, etc., that get disease. Last time I checked, but usually being around rodents or being infested with rodents causes disease as well. And humans probably came into contact with these rodents, and some people became infected by the virus they carry. When viruses cross this so-called species barrier, their effect can be severe. And humans may have had little natural resistance. Contemporary humans live small communities, and those who succumbed to infections either died or developed immunity. This acquired immunity is only passed down to offspring temporarily by antibodies in breast milk and other antibodies that cross the placenta from the mother's blood to the unborn child. Therefore, sporadic outbreaks probably occurred in each generation. In about 9,000 BC, when many people began to settle on the fertile flood plains of the river Nile, the population became dense enough for the virus to maintain a constant presence because of high concentrations of susceptible people. Other epidemics of viral disease that depends on large concentrations of people, such as mumps, rubella, and polio, or rubella, also first occurred at this time. The Neolithic age, which began in the Middle East in about 9,500 BC, was a time when humans became farmers. This agricultural revolution embraced the development of monoculture and presence as opportunity for the rapid spread of several species of plant viruses. The divergence and spread of submorviruses, southern bean mosque viruses, or Masonic viruses, date from the time. The spread of polyviruses of potatoes and other fruits and vegetables became about 6,000 years ago. About 10,000 years ago, the humans who inhabit the land around the Mediterranean basin began to domesticate wild animals, pigs, cattle, goats, sheep, horse, camels, cats, and dogs were all kept and bred in captivity. These animals would have brought their viruses with them. The transmission of viruses from animals to humans can occur, but such zoonotic infections are rare, and subsequent to human transmissions of animal viruses is even rare. Although there are notable exceptions such as influenza, most viruses are species-specific and would have posed no threat to humans. Their rare epidemic of viral disease originated in animals would have been short-lived because the virus were not fully adapted to humans, and the human population were too small to maintain the chain of infection. And 1 second. Where was that? Okay. Others, more ancient viruses have been less of a threat. Herpes virus first infected the ancestors of modern humans over 80 million years ago. Humans have developed a tolerance to these viruses, and most are infected with at least one species. Records of these milder viruses infect are rare, but it is likely that early hominoids suffered from colds, influenza, and diarrhea caused by viruses just as humans do today. More recent evolved viruses cause epidemics and pandemics, and it is those that history records. The influenza virus is one that seems to have crossed the species barrier from duck and water flow to pigs, and from there to humans. It is possible that a fatal plague in the Middle East at the time of the late 18th dynasty was associated with the transmission of Amama. And then the next one is antiquity. But before I continue, let me give you the call in for tonight's show. The call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160, access code 915-411-pound. I repeat, 712-770-4160, access code 915-411-pound. Tonight's subject, T.R.S. represents history of disease and viruses and food. All right. In antiquity, among the earliest recordings of virus infections as an Egyptian stele through the depicted of Egyptian priests from the 18th dynasty and through 1580 through 1350 BC, with a foot drop deformity characterized of a poliovirus infection. The mummy of Sapa, a ruler during the 19th dynasty, shows signs of polymyelitis. and that it's Ramses V and some of the Egyptian mummies buried over 3,000 years ago showed evidence of smallpox. There was an epidemic of smallpox at Athena in 430 BC, in which a quarter of the Athenians' armies and many of the city's civilians died from the infection. Measles is an old disease, but it was not until the 10th century that the Persian physician Muhammad ibn Zachariah al-Raziya, 865 through 925, known as Razis, first identified it. Razis used the Arab name Haspad for measles. It has had many other names, including Rubino, from the Latin word rubius, red, and morbillius, small plague. The close similarities between measles virus, Canaan distemperary virus, and rinderpest virus have given rise to speculation that measles was first transmitted to humans from domesticated dogs and cattle. The measles versus virus appear to have fully diverged from the then widespread rinderpest virus by the 12th century. A measles infection confers lifelong immunity. Therefore, the virus requires a high population density to become endemic. And this probably did not occur in the Neolithic age, following the emergence of the virus in the Middle East. It reached India by 2500 BC. Measles was so common in children at the time that it was not recognized as disease. In the Egyptian hieroglyphs, it was described as a normal stage of human development. One of the earliest descriptions of a virus infection plant can be found in the poem written by the Japanese Empress Kokin, 718 through 770, in which to describe a painting or plant in summer with yellowing leaves. The plant, later identified as Equiperinum lidrimium, is often infected with tomato yellow leaf curve virus. Now we're heading to the Middle Age. The Middle Age, the rapid growing of population of Europe and the rise of concentration of people in its towns and cities became a fertile ground for many infectious and contagious disease, of which the Black Death, a bacterial infection, is probably the most notorious, except the smallpox, or except the for smallpox and emphysema. Documents outbreaks of infections now known to be caused by viruses were rare. Rabies, a disease that had been recognized for over 4,000 years, was rifled in Europe and continues to be so until the development of a vaccine by Louis Pasteur in 1886. The average life expectancy in Europe during the Middle Age was 35 years, and 60% of children died before the age of 16. Many of them during their first 6 years of life. Physicians, what few there were, relied as much on astrology as they did on their limited medical knowledge. Some treatments for infections consist of ointment preparation from cats that had been roasted in hog fat. Among the plethora of disease that caused childhood death were measles, emphysema, and smallpox. The Crusades and the Muslim conquest aided the spread of smallpox, which was the cause of frequent epidemics in Europe following the introduction of the continent between the 5th and 7th century. Measles was epidemic throughout the highly populated centuries of Europe. North America, Middle East, and England, the disease then called measles was first described in the 13th century, and it was probably one of the 49 plagues that occurred between 526 and 1087. Rinderpest, which is caused by the virus closely related to measles virus, is a disease of cattle known since Roman times. The disease, which originated in Asia, was first brought to Europe by invading Huns in 370. Later invasions of Mongolians led by Genghis Khan and his army started pandemics in Europe in 12,022 and 12,033 and 12,038. The infection subsequently reached England following the importance of cattle from the continent. At the Rinderpest was a devastating disease with a mortality rate of 80 to 90%. The resulting loss of cattle caused famine. The early to late modern period. A short time after Henry III's victory at the Battle of Bosworth on the 22nd of August, 1485, his army suddenly went down with the English sweat, with contemporary observers described as a new disease. The disease, which was usually in a mainly affected and influential, might have originated in France, where Henry VII had recruited soldiers for his army. An epidemic hit London in the hot summers of 1508. Victims died within a day, and there were deaths throughout the city. The streets were deserts apart from the carts transporting bodies, and King Henry declared the city off limits except for physicians and apothecaries, or apothecaries. I don't know if I pronounced it right. The disease spread to Europe, arriving in Hamburg in July 1529, July 1529, where one of the 2,000 victims died within the first few weeks. During the following months, it wreaked havoc in Persia, Switzerland, and Northern Europe. The last outbreak was in England in 1556. The disease, which killed tens of thousands of people, was probably influenza or a similar viral infection, but recorded from the time when medicine was not a science can be unreliable. As medicine became a science, the description of disease became less vague. Although medicine could do little at the time of alleviate the sufferings of the victims of infection, measuring to control the spread of disease were used, restrictions on trade and travel were implemented. Stricken families were isolated from their communities, buildings were fumigated, and livestock killed. The reference to influenza infections date from the late 15th and early 16th century, but infections almost certainly occurred long before that. In 1173, an epidemic occurred that was possibly the first Europe, and in 1493, an outbreak of what is now through to be swine influenza struck Native Americans in Hispaniola. There is some evidence to suggest the source of the infection was pigs on Columbus' ship. During the influenza epidemic that occurred in England between 1557 and 1559, 5% of the population, about 1,500,000, died from the infection. The mortality rate was nearly 5 times that of 1918 and 1919 pandemic. The first pandemic that was reliable recording began in July of 1580 and swept across Europe, Africa, Asia. The mortality rate was high. 8,000 died in Rome. The next 3 pandemics occur in 18th century, including during the 1781-82, which was probably the most devastating in history. This began in November 1781 and in China reached Moscow in December. In February 1782, it hit St. Petersburg, and by May it had reached Denmark. But in 6 weeks, 75% of the British population were infected, and the pandemic soon spread to the America. And let me go and see how long this thing is. I'm just looking at this. All right, let me keep going. I'm going to switch between what I'm reading and go now to other things. So let me finish this up. The Americas and Australians remained free of measles and smallpox until the arrival of European colonists between 1500 and 18th century. Amongst the measles, the influenza, smallpox, was taken to the Americas by the Spanish. Smallpox was an endemic in Spain, having been introduced by the Moors from Africa. In 1519, an epidemic of smallpox broke out in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, Mexico. I think it's pronounced Tenochtitlan. This was started by the army of Porfirio de Navasi, and who follows Herman Cortez from Cuba and had an African slave suffer from smallpox aboard his ship. When the Spanish finally entered the capital in summer of 1521, they saw it strewn with the bodies of smallpox victims. The epidemic of these that followed during 1545 and 1548 and 1576 to 1581 eventually killed more than half of the native population. Most of the Spanish were immune with his army and fewer than 800 men. It would not have been possible for Cortez to defeat the Aztecs and conquer Mexico without the help of smallpox. Many Native Americans' populations were devastated later by the inevitable spread of disease introduced by Europe. In the 150 years that followed Columbus' arrival in 1492, the Native American population of North America was reduced by 80% from disease, including measles, smallpox, influenza. The damage done by these viruses significantly aided Europeans' attempt to displace and conquer the native populations. So, in this little paragraph, it's not just a physical attack or war against the so-called Mongolian Native Americans, or Native Americans, which are Mongolians, but it was the disease that they carried, killed, and rid a good portion of the population. Also, not only the disease, but also they had kids, because if you look at Eurocentric history, from the Spanish to the Europeans, which are all one and the same, one of the three elements or the three rules of conquer is, and I'm going to say really loud and closely for y'all to get it, rape, plunder, and pillage. Those are 3 keys of conquer or colonization. Rape, plunder, and pillage. Keep that in mind. Know it, understand it, know it well. Good. Well, in the 18th century, smallpox was endemic in Europe. There were 5 epidemics in London between 1719 and 1746, and large outbreaks occurred in other major European cities. By the end of the century, about 400,000 Europeans were dying from the disease each year. It reached South Africa in 1713, having been carried by ships from India, and in 1789, the disease struck Australia. In the 19th century, smallpox became the single most important cause of death of the Australian Aborigines. In 1546, Guillermo Francesco, 1478 to 1553, wrote a classical description of measles. He thought the disease was caused by seeds, Samaria, that were spread from person to person. An epidemic hits London in 1670. Records by Thomas Sardinian in 1624 through 1689. I think that's date of birth. He didn't live that long from what I'm reading. Who thought it was caused by toxic vapors emanating from the earth. His theory was wrong, but he was a skilled observer and kept malicious records. Yellow fever is an often lethal disease caused by a flavirus, and the virus is transmitted to humans by mosquitoes. Aedes aegypti. The first appearance over 3,000 years ago. In 1647, the first record epidemic occurred in Barbados and was called Barbados distemper by John Winthrop, who was the governor of the island at the time. He passed quarantine laws to protect the people. The first ever such laws in North America. Further epidemics of the disease occurred in North America in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century. The first known cause of Douglas fever occurred in Indonesia and Egypt in 1779. Trade ships brought the disease to the U.S. were an epidemic occurring in Philadelphia in 1780. Newly emerged infectious disease, AIDS, have been posing an increasingly significant threat to human health. The majority of the AIDS are the zodiac origins, for which the human population increase and intensification of animals farming as well as wild animal environments are cultivated in part. Many paintings can be found in the Museum of Europe depicting tulips with attractive colors strips, most such as the still life studies of Johannes Bosshurst were paintings during the 17th century. These flowers were particularly popular and became sought off after by those who could afford them. At the peak of the tulip mania in the 1630s, one bulb could cost as much as house. It was known at the time that the strips were caused by viruses accidentally transmitted by humans to tulips from jasmine. Weakening by the virus, the paint turned out to be a poor investment. Only a few bulbs produce flowers with the attraction characterized of their parent plants. Until the Irish Great Famine of 1845 through 1852, a period of 8 years, or actually 7 years, my fault. The commonest cause of disease in potatoes was not the mold that caused the blight. It was a virus. The disease called curl is caused by potato left roll virus, and it was widespread in England in the 1770s, where it destroyed 75% of the potato crops. At that time, the Irish potato crops remained relatively unscathed. Now I'm going to go down, and the rest of it is dealing with the person that discovered the vaccine for so-called vaccination of smallpox, which started in, and I'm not going to go to that. Rabies, another man that came with, I guess, the cure or something dealing with rabies. And going further now. Measles, probably this known. AIDS, which deal with the stupid monkey hoax with AIDS. Influenza, not going that. I could probably run down the viruses for y'all, but let me check the boards. Okay, I'm just looking around. I'm just going down the list, people. Okay, so let's run down some of these so-called viruses, or actually viruses entirely. I'm not going to go into too much detail. All right, the first viruses, going down the list. Yellow fever, dengue, and other arboviruses. Arboviruses are viruses that are transmitted to human and other vertebrates by blood-sucking insects. These viruses are diverse in terms of arboviruses, which was derived from arthropod coronavirus, is no longer used in formal taxonomy because many species of virus are known to be spread in this way. There are more than 500 species of arbovirus, but in the 1930s, only 3 were known to cause disease in humans: yellow fever virus, dengue virus, puppetex fever virus. More than 100 of such viruses are known to cause human disease, including ancestophilosis. Yellow fever is the most notorious disease caused by a flavivirus. The last major epidemic in the U.S. occurred in 1905. During the build of the Panama Canal, thousands of workers died from this disease. Yellow fever originated in Africa, and the virus was brought to the Americans on cargo ships, which were harboring the Aedes aegypti mosquito that carries the virus. The first recorded epidemic in Africa occurred in Ghana, West Africa, 1926. And in 1930, the disease reemerged in the Brazil. Fred Sofer, an American epidemiologist, I don't know. That's right, getting tongue-tied. 1893 to 1977. Discovered that importance of the symbiotic cycle of infection of non-human hosts, and an infection of humans was the dead end that broke the cycle. Although the yellow fever vaccine is one of the most successful ever developed, epidemic continues to occur. In 1986, 91 in West Africa, over 20,000 people were infected, 4,000 of whom died. In 1930, St. Louis and Encephalitis, Eastern and Queen Encephalitis, and Western Ecke and Encephalitis emerged in the U.S., and the virus that caused the La Crosse encephalitis was discovered in 1960. The West Nile virus arrived in New York in 1999, and as in 2010, Thugen virus is the most prevalent virus. Increasingly virulent strain of the virus has spread across Asia and in America. Hepatitis virus is the second one. Hepatitis is a disease of the liver that has been recognized since antiquity. Symptoms include jaundice, a yellow of the skin, eyes, and body fluids. There are numerous causes, including viruses. Particularly hepatitis A virus hepatitis B virus, and hepatitis C virus. Throughout history, epidemic jaundice had been reported mainly affecting soldiers at war. The campaign jaundice was common in the Middle Age. It occurred among Napoleon's armies and during the most of major conflict of 19th to 20th century, including the American Civil War, where over 40,000 cases and around 150 deaths were reported. The virus that caused epidemic jaundice were not discovered until the middle of the 20th century. The names of epidemic jaundice, hepatitis A, and of for blood-borne infections, jaundice, hepatitis B, were first used in 1947, following the publications in 1946 giving evidence that the two diseases were distinct. In 1960, the first virus that could cause hepatitis was discovered. This was hepatitis B virus, which was named after the disease it caused. Hepatitis A virus was discovered in 1974. The discovery of hepatitis B virus and the invention of test and detection, it was radically changed, mainly medical and some cosmetic procedures. The screening of dominant blood, which is introduced in the early 1970s, has drastically reduced the transmission of the virus. The donations of human blood plasma and factors 8 collect before 1975 often contained infection levels of hepatitis B virus. Until the late 1960s, hemodemic needles were often reused by medical professionals, and tattoo artist needles were a common source of infection. In the late 1990s, needles exchange programs were established in Europe and the U.S. to prevent the spread of infectious and intravenous drug users. These measures also help reduce the subsequent impact of HIV and hepatitis C virus. Next is non-human animal virus. Episodic and outbreaks epidemic of disease among non-human animals during the 20th century. Significant episodic of viral disease in animals, particularly livestock, occur worldwide. The main disease caused by virus include foot and mouth disease, rinderpest of cattle, avian, swine influenza, swine fever, and blue tongue of sheep. Viral disease of livestock can be devastating, but the farmers and the wider community, as the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the UK in 2001 show, first appeared in East Africa in 1891. Rinderpest, a disease of cattle, spread rapidly across Africa. By 1892, 95% of the cattle in East Africa had died. This resulted in a famine that devastated the farmer and neurotic people, some of which were entirely dependent on their cattle. 2/3 of the population of Masala people died. The situation was made worse by epidemic of smallpox that followed in the wake of the famine. In the early years of the 20th century, rinderpest was common in Asia and part of Europe. The prevalence of the disease was steadily reduced during the centuries of control measures that include vaccination. By 1908, Europe was free from the disease. Outbreaks did occur following the Second World War, but these were quickly controlled. The prevalence of the disease increased in Asia, and in 1957, Thailand had to appeal for aid because so many buffaloes had died that the paddy fields could not be prepared for rice growing. Russia, west of the Ural Mountains, remained free from the disease. Lenin approved several laws of the control of disease, but cattle in eastern Russia were constantly infected with rinderpest and originated of Mongolians in China, where the prevalence remaining high. India controls the spread of the disease, which had retained a foothold in the southern states of Tamil Nadu, Kasa throughout the 20th century and had eradicated the disease by 1995. Africa suffered two major pandemics in 1920 and 1980s. There was a severe outbreak in Somalia in 1928, and the disease was widespread in the country until 1953. In the 1980s, outbreaks in Tanzania and Kenya were controlled by the use of 26 million doses of vaccines, and recurrence of the disease in 1997 was suppressed by the intense vaccination campaign. By the end of the century, rinderpest have been eradicated from the country. A few pockets of infected remain in Ethiopia and Sudan. And in 1994, the global rinderpest eradication program was launched by the Food and Agriculture Organization. And the aim of the global eradication by 2010. In May of 2011, the facts that the World Organization of Animal Health announced that rinderpest as a freely circulated viral disease has been eliminated from the world. Foot and mouth disease is as highly contagious, infected, caused by a enterovirus, and is classified by the same family as polyvirus and virus, and has infected animals, mainly Urugales in Africa since ancient time, and was probably brought to the Americas in the 19th century by import livestock. Foot and mouth disease is rarely fatal, and by the economic losses occurring by the outbreak in sheep and cow herds can be high. The loss occurred in the disease of U.S. was in 1929, but as recently as 2001, several large outbreaks occurred throughout the UK, and thousands of animals were killed and burned. The natural hosts of influenza viruses are pigs and birds. Although it was probably infected humans since antiquity, the virus can cause mid to severe epizootics in wild and domesticated animals. Many species of wild birds migrate, and have spread influentially across the continent throughout the age, and the virus has evolved into numerous strands and continue to do so, posing an ever-present threat. In the early years of the 21st century, epizootics and livestock caused by virus continue to have serious consequences. Blue tongue disease and disease caused by an ovovirus broken out the sheep in France of 2007. Until then, the disease had been mainly continued to the American, Africa, Southern Asia, and Northern Australia, but is now an emerging disease around Mediterranean. And the last one is plant virus. This is something new that I didn't know existed. During the 20th century, many old diseases of plants were founded by cause of virus. This includes maize streaks and cassava mosaic disease. As the human, when the plants thrive in close proximity, so do their virus. This can cause huge economic loss and human tragedy. In Jordan, during the 1970s, where tomatoes and cucumbers, melons, and grapes were extensively growing, entire fields were infected with viruses. Similar to the Côte d'Ivoire, 30 different viruses infect crops such as legumes and vegetables, and Kenya cassava virus, maize streak virus, and groundnut viral disease caused by the loss of up to 70% of the crop. Cassava is the most abundant crop that is growing in eastern Africa, and it's a staple crop for more than 200 million people. It was introduced by Africa from South America and grown well in soils with poor infertility. The most important disease of cassava is caused by cassava mosaic virus. A gem virus occurred and transmitted between plants by white flies. The disease was first recorded in 1894, and the outbreak of disease occurred in Eastern Africa throughout the 20th century, often resulting in a famine. In the 1920s, the sugar beet grown in the Western use of suffering huge economic loss caused by damage done to their crops by the Lephofer transmission beet curl top virus. In 1956, between 25 to 50% of the rice crops of Cuba and Venezuela was destroyed by the rice Hoji Banca virus in 1958. It caused the loss of many rice fields in Colombia. Outbreaks occurred in 1981, which caused loss of up to 100%. In Ghana, between 1936 and 1977, the mealybug transmission cocoa swollen shoot virus caused the loss of 162 million cocoa trees. I think that's cocoa plants. In addition, the additional trees were lost at a rate of 15 million each year. In 1948, in Kansas, U.S. 7% of the wheat crop was destroyed by the wheat streak mosaic virus spread by the wheat curl mites. And a special name they call it. In 1950, papaya ring spot virus, a virus, caused a devastation loss of solo papaya crops, and on Hawaii, solo papaya has been introduced by the island in the previous century, but the disease had not been seen on the island before 1940. Such disasters occurred when human intervention caused ecological change by the introduction of crops of new vectors and viruses. Cocoa is native to South America and was introduced to the West Africa in the late 19th centuries. In 1936, swollen root disease has been transmitted to plantations by mealybugs from indigenous trees. New habitats can trigger outbreaks and plant virus disease. Before 1970, the rice yellow mite virus was only found in the Kasumi district of Kenya, but followed the integration of large areas of East Africa and extensive rice cultivations by the virus spread throughout the East Africa. Human activity introduced by plant virus to native crops and the citrus travesii virus, CTV, was introduced to South America from Africa between 1926 and 1930. At the same time, the Apine toxoplasma citrotus was carried from Asia to South America and accelerating the transmission of the virus by 1950. More than 6 million citrus trees have been killed by the virus in Sao Paulo, Brazil. CTV and citrus trees probably coevolved for centuries in the original countries. The spiral of CTV is other regions and its interactions with the new citrus varieties resulting in devastating outbreaks of plants disease. Because of the problem caused by the introduction of humans, by the introduction by humans of plant viruses, many countries have strict importation control of any material that can be harbored dangerous plants virus of their insect vectors. And going down, there's an emergent virus, which I'm not going to. And now they just introduce what we have now here in the world in 2020, coronavirus 2019. And this really explains a lot right here. And it confirms November 2019. I was right. What they said backs up my suspicion about this virus. Matter of fact, should I read it? Oh, another thing, there's West Nile virus, Neptune virus, viral hemorrhagic fever, and I'm going to soon conclude, but let me read this one. Here we go. Emerging viruses. SARS, S-A-R-S. Main article, SARS and the coronavirus disease of 2019. Several acute respiratory syndromes, SARS, is caused by the new type of coronavirus. Other coronaviruses were known to cause mid-infection in humans. So the virulence and rapid spread of this novel virus strain caused alarm among health professionals as well as public fear. The fear of the major pandemic were not relating, and by July of 2003, after causing around 8,000 cases and 800 deaths, the outbreak had ended. The exact origin of the SARS virus is not known, but evidence suggests that it came from bats. A related coronavirus emerged in Wuhan, China, in November 2019 and spread rapidly around the world, subsequently named several acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. Infections with the virus caused pandemic with the case fatal rate around 2% in healthy people under the age of 50. Around 50% of those aged over 80, particularly those are pre-existing commodities. As of March 2020, the fatality rate is lower in SARS from that of the SARS, but the infection is more contagious. Measures to contain the impact of the pandemic have been hampered by the fear of prejudice and stigmatization of infected people. Unprecedented restrictions and pace times have been placed on international travels. Curfew imposed several major cities worldwide. Yada, yada, yada. Y'all know the thing. So it proves that this first came out and broke out 5 months ago. And mind you, I'm not a person that's really focused on this, but the premise of this particular looking at disease and history of virus is to run down all the viruses and disease up to this major one we face today, which I read right here, which really was SARS, S-A-R-S, now known as coronavirus, which really came out and first was known and seen back in 2003, roughly 17 years ago, before 2019, which was 16 years ago of last year. Now, to wrap up and conclude, there's one other thing it says here, and then let me give the call number now. The call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160, access code 915-411#. I repeat, 712-770-4160, access code 915-411#. Tonight's subject, Chaos Reign presents History of Disease and Viruses and Food, which are all encompassed in one from what I'm going at. Okay. Okay. Let me go back. Now there's a section here saying the beneficials of virus, or the beneficials of virus. Sir Peter Madar, 1915 through 1987, describes a virus as a piece of bad news wrapped in a protein coat, with the exception of the bacterial plague virus, had a well-deserved reputation for being nothing but the cause of disease and death. The discovery of the abundance of viruses and their overwhelming presence of many ecosystems had led a modern virologist to reconsider their role in the biosphere. It is estimated that there are about 1031 viruses on the earth. I think that said that's 10,000. I mean, it says 1,031 viruses. I believe that's what it said. Most of them are bacteriophagous, and most are in oceans. Microorganisms constitute more than 90% of the biomass in the sea, and it has been estimated that virus will kill approximately 20% of the biomass such of each day, and that there are 15 times as many viruses in the ocean as there as bacteria in Argentina. Viruses are the main agents responsible for the rapid destruction of harmful algal blooms, which often kills other marine life. To help maintain the ecological balance of different species of marine blue-green algae, and thus equate oxygen produced by the life on Earth. The emergence of strands of bacteria that are resistant to a broad range of antibiotics have become a problem in the treatment of bacteria infections. Only 2 new classic antibiotics have been developed in the past 30 years. A novel way of combating bacteria infections are being sought. Bacteriophages were first used to control bacteria in the 1920s, and a large clinical trial was conducted by the Soviet scientists in 1963. This work was unknown outside the Soviet Union until the results of the trials were published in the West in 1989. And the reason of escalating problems caused by antibiotic-resistant bacteria has stimulated a renewal interest in the use of bacteriophages and phage therapy. The Human Genome Project has revealed a presence of numerous viral DNA sequences scattered throughout the human genome. This sequence makes up around 80% of the human DNA and appears to be remains of ancient retrovirus infections of human ancestors. These pieces of DNA have firmly established themselves in human DNA. Most of this DNA is no longer functional, but some of these friendly viruses have brought with them a novel gene that are important in human development. Viruses have transmitted important genes to plants. About 10% of all photosynthesis users that produce the gene that have been transferred to plants from the blue-green algae by viruses. And that concludes this rundown of the virus, history of virus. Before I go to the lines, I'd like to say something about this thing with viruses and food, especially with certain plants, certain foods from cocoa, papaya, all the ones that you see that people indulge and eat from Africa to South America and to what we consume here in America. There was one important emphasis that was known why certain governments, even here, when they always regulate or they always know what comes into the country in regards to seeds or other products of food, they watch that closely because, let's say here in America, if we produce some in certain foods like soy, soybean, I think, or corn, it would be fatal if they brought in an unknown plant or food here and it cultivates here in America, which will cause damage to other crops because of infections. Because like any new subpar species that comes into a new environment, it simply replicates and it could potentially infect and kill off existing organisms in its environment. This also applies to the plants that we eat on a daily basis, the food we eat that's not indigenous to the land. And I remember Terrence, when we had him on this stream on many shows. He talks about the hybridization and the controlling of food. Right now, we know that Monsanto controls nearly almost 100% of the food we consume in the world. And it's roughly like, I think last time I checked it was like 95%, maybe almost 100. And I doubt you get 100% of anything. But controlling more than half, you are already up there. And eating these foods can cause devastating effects to your body genetically. Your body is a whole body, and genetically manipulating foods to keep making in mass production, some foods that's unnecessary, can have devastating effects on your health, your reproduction, and on your mind. I also heard that they have found a way now to alter the genetic code of people in regards to babies, or the manufacture of babies, where they sit there and how you can create your own baby, like how you want eyes, appearance, all that. Well, I think this was done in Asia, particularly genetic manipulation. I don't know if it's gene splicing or something, where they take out certain parts of the gene that cause illness and remove that part, so that way when that being is born, it will not suffer diabetes, heart problems, or any other ailments, but they've been genetically augmented. They've been created. They do have this technology now for some time now, maybe longer than 10 years ago. I would say maybe close to 20 years ago, maybe. Now I'm just throwing numbers out here. But now that's going to be soon bring to the public. After, what we face now, they're going to soon make it available and cheaper, because the medical establishment can't maintain how it is dealing with people throughout not only its budget, but how they heal and deal with people's health. Because we all know for the past, God knows when hospitals were even existing, that they never cured the common cold. So now with genetic augmentation, gene augmentation, they can make that a reality. But the problem is there's consequences altering your genes genetically. Only the future will tell what will happen. If people choose to go ahead and augment their babies, or want their future babies to be augmented so they don't suffer certain disease. It's not anything innovative. It can be somewhat dangerous. But can now say if you remove and manipulate genes and remove one genome that will cause disease, it will create another problem, which can be disastrous. But like I said, only time will tell. So now, as I check the board, I open up the lines for y'all now, for y'all input or your takes of what has been discussed tonight. Let me check my screen. If I stay a little quiet, a bit, check around here. Oh, I forgot to give the call number again. The call number is 712-770-4160. Access code 91541#. I repeat, 712-770-4160. Access code 915-411#. I see a lot of people putting some media out here. Interesting. All right, I was checking something. Let me check the chat room. The chat room is funny though. That guy's going crazy in the chat. Let's see. You only drop a link about flus, but refuse to drop a link about corona. It's funny. I'm not sure if I have to say it again. I give this so-called problem, we're in March, 3 months, at most. At most. Once June hits, it's going to be like, we didn't know this virus was such a big deal. They're going to wrap this up in 2 to 3 months. Most of 3 months is the limit. Sit quiet. Hold on. To let everybody know, I'm sorry, people. I apologize. Can I know you still there, Oasis?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. To let everybody know, if y'all not aware, Dr. Layla Africa has transitioned today. For those that will be listening for the first time, the good naturopath, the scholar that writes about history of Europeans and us and deals with alternative health, died today. Now, the cause of death was very unknown, but he's dead now. And he transitioned today. And right now, and you know what's funny? Oasis, since I have you on the line, I've noticed with a lot of our people that works sole proprietorship, when they transition, it makes me wonder how much they're covered if in regards to death. Is my question. You know what I'm saying?
Say it again.
Like they're dead, but it don't look like they have no insurance or anything in regards to funeral and all stuff. They're asking the public, you know, people to cover or money in regards to the cost of loss.
Yeah, well, that's more of a reflection on the, you know, the people that you serve or who you work for. You know, if you worked for 40 years for, you know, some company and you didn't have any 401k, you didn't have anything, it would, you know, it would be a reflection on your poor ability to save up, but it also would be, you know, that you chose to work for a company, and we don't take care of the people that, you know, dedicate their lives to us. Not that we support them, and not that it's not their responsibility to, you know, take out of that the necessities of life. So, you know, I'm not going to say that because I know, you know, he was financially supported by the community as far as purchasing his products and bringing them out to lectures. At one point, he was charging $4,000 for, you know, to come out and speak. So, you know, I'm not going to put it all on the people, but it is a reflection of, you know, who you work for as well. And, you know, it's a thankless job. And so, you know, we got to learn how to take care of our people when we see, you know, that they're dedicating their lives to us. You know, and eventually we will have those institutions where, you know, we have our scholars and our young people that come back into the community to serve us, where we have something set aside for them. But that is the truth, you know. You got some scholars that spend their life speaking against Christianity, and then they're buried and they have their memorials in Christian churches and stuff. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I did see, you know, some PayPals and stuff like that for him. I'm not sure if that was just, you know, them asking or if they needed to ask. You know, you're never really sure.
Okay. Well, stay right there. I got somebody raise their hand. Let me see what this is. Caller, open your line. Who's this?
No, I wasn't ready yet, Gary. My bad, Gary. I wasn't ready.
Okay. All right. Put yourself on mute for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Oasis. But like I said, sis, you've been very busy. Very, 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 very busy. You know what I'm saying? And at times, you know, I'm not sure how you dealt with me because I'll be the dudes that sit there constantly got. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I tell people, man, I'm very passionate on certain things to keep it real, you know? If I say I was going to get something, I'm going to get it. Or if I say I need question and answer or feedback, I'm going to ask it repeatedly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
I can't just constantly stop about it. No, I'm a person that says that until I get some answer or something, I will be somewhat persistent. I'm not going to just be quiet and then just take a break on it. I'm going to be very persistent, you know? But I feel I think persistence is a key if you're trying to attain or try and get something, you know? If you're not like that, then obviously you get tired and maybe don't want to waste time. You know what I'm saying? I know some people just give up after a while and say, I need to help this person with something I can't help, so screw it. Not me, you know what I'm saying? Because I build a certain understanding relationship with people that I'm associated. I communicate, you know, to know if you're okay or if I need something or you potentially might need some. If I could provide it, I could information or a little tangible resource. If I can, I will do it. You know what I'm saying? Nonetheless, I had to be persistent. That's man, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can.
But since I have you here, because I have my actual guest thing come on I don't think tonight, unfortunately. But you dealt with the natural path too. The only question I could ask: how well versed your understanding of disease and viruses? Because today on today's stream, if you didn't get a chance to catch this, I ran and read the little brief history from what I found through the net of history of disease and viruses, even to the one that led to the up to now what we're dealing with now, the corona, which is called the SARS virus, before now known as corona, which I did not know that. And what I mean by SARS, people, I mean, it says here, let me go back, SARS, S-A-R-S, and this and corona was almost linked together. And this dealt with respiratory syndrome, you know? And this was a fear and major pandemic were not raised and by to July of 2003. And amongst that, it had its deaths and fatality 17 years ago. Up to, we find now that was created in Wuhan, China, which we now know here as coronavirus, in November, which it confirmed my of what they said it came out. It was confirmed that it came out in November, 5 months ago. And we did not hear about this, if we want to keep 100, until the first, second, third week of January.
Uh-huh.
This is during.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm saying I'm only saying this because. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They're all actually under the coronavirus. If you look in the medical dictionary, the coronavirus is actually just in the medical dictionary it just means common cold.
Okay.
But you could say that the corona is the mother to MRSA, which is the Middle Eastern respiratory, syndrome or whatever it is, and then you got the SARS, and then you got several versions of the SARS, and then you got the H1N1, which is a version of the SARS, but they're all under corona. Even the common cold is under corona. So. It's interesting that you have people testing positive, and you have to pay attention to the language of the media, because, they'll say some people are tested positive for corona, and then they'll say some people tested positive for COVID. That's not a mistake that they're saying two different things, because some people just have the common cold, and you can, have the common cold and go to the hospital and not know it, Maybe you got a little tickle in your throat. Maybe you don't have anything. Maybe it's the day before you actually come down with symptoms or whatever. Of course, if you have asthma or if you smoke, people that smoke know that, you get a cold, your breathing is much more labored than, a person that doesn't smoke. And so it's going to affect you differently. I don't know too much about viruses being airborne in the manner that this one is, or going from animal to human in the manner that this one does, because my experience with or my knowledge of viruses is that in the gut of animals they die. They don't pass on to humans like that. So whenever I hear them saying the transmission is from animal to human, that's always curious to me. But I know my main focus, the thing I've been looking at really is them saying that they're going to create a vaccine for a virus, because viruses are very intelligent. You can't use one single thing for a virus. You have to use something for a month and then switch to something else, because it's to what you're using. So, that's something else. Like, how are you going to make one vaccine for it? Because viruses aren't dumb. They're very intelligent. So, I don't know a lot about this corona. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but what I have done a lot of research on is anti-malarial drugs. That's pretty much what I focus on. And I do find it interesting that every time Trump speaks about a vaccine for it. Say it again.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get my other device because I typed in the chat room people could hear you, and guy told me I must increase the volume. So as you talk, I gotta switch to another computer because it will be much lot louder because this computer I have is too old, and this is as best the volume's gonna go. I can't really mess with the volume. But now I'm gonna listen. Keep talking. As I switch on, I'll call you back. But keep talking until I log on.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, my experience is more so with the actual herbs and more so rainforest herbs. And so the coronavirus, the SARS, is something that they pretty much mastered in the rainforest under the guise of malaria. It's only foreigners that go there and have the worst cases of malaria. So I find it interesting that every time Trump says something about the vaccine, he, connects it to something that's anti-malarial. I don't know. I just think that that's interesting because there's a lot of herbs out here from the rainforest that these viruses aren't accustomed to. I see a lot of herbalists that are saying, take this to boost your immunity, take that to boost your immunity. But what they need to understand is that a lot of these things have already been used a lot. And so these viruses, the same way you have a lot of antibiotics that aren't, effective anymore. A lot of these herbs and stuff, these common herbs, aren't really going to be effective if you have a compromised immune system, which most of us do. They're not going to be effective with a lot of these viruses because they're intelligent and they've become accustomed to these things. So you're going to have to go to the rainforest and you're going to have to combine, multiple things, multiple anti-malarial or, things that are effective against the coronavirus in order to, really be effective against these new viruses or, man-made viruses, really, because most of them are just biological agents. They're not really just natural viruses.
Okay. I understand. I get you. Be patient, people, as I log into this other device so you can hear it better. And like I said, this is another good friend. She also is she deals with the natural elements, and also, she has a very rough understanding of disease, how to treat it and stuff. And obviously, people, but my actual guest that was here did not show. But nonetheless, the show goes on regardless. If I don't have the man or woman that discuss these issues, there's other people that's well knowledge, And like I said, Oasis has been doing this for, God, like maybe over a decade, maybe a little longer. Maybe, I don't know. So if you want.
Well, I became a curandera 15 years ago, and curandera is just a folk healer. And Moors know it, Spanish people know it, and Hispanic people know it as, folk healers. So I started doing that 15 years ago, but I started actually delving into herbal medicine 25 years ago with my daughter because she was born with eczema. Okay. And just trying to heal that is when I really started getting into herbs. And now it's what I'm in my second year of biochemistry, and so it's what I do full time now. But
all right. So this is what I'm gonna do, Oasis. I'm gonna hang up briefly and contact you through another device, and this will correct the volume issue. And we're gonna probably, when I call you very soon, we're gonna deal with certain. Oh, let me check if that's, is that me? Let me check if that's me. Oh, that's not me. Okay. We're going to talk about certain organs of the body and the importance of cleaning out. All right? All right. So let me hang up. Give me 2 minutes. I'm calling you right back very soon. All right?
Okay.
All right. As we take a quick pause, people, like I said, Dr. Lay Africa has transitioned today. And I'll do this. I'll share this link, have y'all look at it personally. Yeah, Dr. Lay Africa died today. It was sad and unfortunate. It caught me by surprise because usually a man that deals with the naturopath wouldn't expect the transition so early. As we wait, the call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160, access code 915-411#. I repeat, 712-770-4160, access code 915-411#. All right. It looks like my thing is up and running. So now all right, people. Okay, as I'm here now to recall. Okay, as I make the call now back to Oasis. All right, Oasis, you back?
Hello.
All right, now you sound better. That's as loud as we're going to get, people. You know what I'm saying? I got a better device. Okay. Yeah, so you've been practicing this for roughly 25 years now that you're official, for the last 2 years, And in this path or journey of, with the herb and manipulating certain material and making new type of potions. I'm sorry.
Chaos is breaking up.
Hold on, let me check. Let me adjust make sure my internet's working. Am I still breaking up? My internet bad? My connection?
No, you're fine now.
Yeah. In this journey of creating potions and healing people, what was the most unique concoction that you ever discovered for your journeys with the herbs itself that you have, created, or that you take pleasure that even from your learning that said, damn, I did this. This is good.
You know what? Well, I just think a creator is amazing. So sometimes you find herbs. Most of the herbs that I deal with now, I've been dealing with for at least 5 years because I give myself a few years of learning the herb, trying the herb out, before I ever even say anything to anybody about. But let's see, I've got a super immunity formula, and it's got an herb that I think is phenomenal called chuchuhuasi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a familiar herb for everybody. It's got elder flowers in it. Everybody can use elderberry. Some people have seen that some people suggest elderberry for this flu, but you actually don't want to take elderberry. You want to use elderflower for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a herb in it called chuchuhuasi. I've got a tincture that's a triple soursop tincture. I didn't know that 15 years ago, well, maybe 12 years ago when I first got introduced to soursop leaves. I didn't know that. I just thought, soursop leaves may help cure cancer. I didn't know that there were other more soursop leaves in the guanabana, which is the popular one. I didn't know that there were other potent ones. So I made a triple soursop tincture. I love that. I've got an antiviral tincture. I've got an HPV formula. And I'm proud of the HPV formula because I've given that to quite a few sisters, but about 7 or 8 sisters. And I know that one is extremely effective. And it's got a herb that Dr. Sebi introduced a lot of people to called palpurera in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's got bitter melon and a herb that I actually found. I was researching some stuff about the Moors, and I found this herb called Simarupa. And it's a very strong antiviral. It's liver cleansing. It reduces heat in the liver and in spleen. And just creating that formula, it's got about 7 different herbs up in it. And yeah, I was pretty amazed when I after I studied each component, you know, made sure that they balance well with one another, and then learned which one was the main herbs, the supporting herbs, the assisting herbs in that formula. Mm-hmm. And then finally came out with a really balanced formula and started, you know, offering it to sisters to try out. Yeah, really proud of that formula.
Excellent. Now to the component of the body itself, from the major organs. I remember me and Terrence had a discussion. The body functions, one of 3 areas that he focused heavily. And I'm trying to quote and try to remember good. I think it was the liver, the kidney, and I forgot the other organ. I don't know if you know, because he always emphasized the 3 areas that he focused.
The 3 organs.
Yeah, he focused in regards to removing the debris and, you know, mucus and things that's clogged up most. Could eliminate and remove.
That would be the liver, kidney, and the bowel. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. The bowel. Yeah, or like you're the gut itself. You know. Yeah. And I think Dr. Sabe did mention this when he was still alive, those few things that he focused the most. And for those who are listening the first time, even like the formula that you created, and I can't go back on your Facebook to tell which one you create for the liver, but what are the essential elements, that the importance of the properties of the liver in regards to the body from your understanding?
Well, the liver is the cleaner of the body. It's the cleaner of the body. You know, you have several elements.
Hold on, people. Having a little technical difficulties. Let me see if I can address that. Give me 1 second, people. My internet just went off. Right. Can you hear me good, Oasis? No, you might have to repeat that. I'm not sure if my internet.
So yeah.
Say that again. The whole thing, cause. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, the liver is the like maestro of the eliminating organs. And so, but it's actually pretty simple to clean. You really just need some dandelion root, some milk thistle, that 3 times a day is just the substitute. You know, you need. It's pretty strong. It's pretty bitter. Mm-hmm. But and most people don't stick to the regimen because of how bitter the herbs are. Mm-hmm. But once you get in a dire enough situation, or you just take the time and be committed and become accustomed to it, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to clean the liver, and it makes an amazing difference in the function, of your body and getting rid of disease. Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting about the liver is that I see a lot of people, they sell liver cleanses, and I rarely hear people tell you that they're in order to cleanse them. A lot of people will go straight in and start being, like, I got problems with my kidney, I need to clean my kidney out. But you can do it, but it's detrimental to you to clean your kidney before you clean your bowels, because the kidney debris has to have somewhere to go, or it goes back into the blood if the intestines are compacted, or you're not able to, eliminate from them. It will back up into the liver as well.
Oh.
You can't clean the,
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Right. You can't clean the liver before you clean the kidney. You have to clean the bowels. Then you clean the kidney. Then you do the liver and the gallbladder. After you do the liver and gallbladder, you do the pancreas. And then even when you clean your intestines, you have to be very specific to do your large intestines and your small intestines. And it's going to take you at least 30 days to do your small intestines correctly. I know a lot of, fellow herbalists that, recommend drinking an oil drink
But
a
lot
what?
of our, it's oil and Epsom salt and grapefruit juice and orange juice. There's a Dr. Moritz who, a Caucasian man, who came up with a book that's like really famous. I know the and gallbladder miracle cleanse or something like that. You drink a bunch of olive oil and some grapefruit juice and Epsom salt and whatever.
Do you mix that in?
Say it again?
Do you mix that in or drink it separately? Like Epsom salt and pour water, Epsom salt, drink that.
Together, and you drink so much. You drink so much every 15 minutes or whatever. And then you pass these, people are being told that they're green green gallstones. Actually not. They're actually just oil. They're actually just constant oil coming out the system because it's back a lot of oil. Now, why that's dangerous is because a lot of us eat a lot of restaurant food, a lot of fried food. So our pancreas is. And can you imagine if you just were standing somewhere, and then somebody doused you with oil? So you got to think about the pancreas and the organs that way, like you're cleaning, but you're cleaning yourself with oil. You can do that same cleanse effectively with just 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt and some water and clean your bowels out.
Okay.
So, you start with that. There's a lot of effective teas on the market. Move. Dr. Sebi's chelation is excellent. If you drink, a lot of water, you want to drink a lot of water with that formula. You start with drinking. Introduce probiotics and prebiotics. I know a lot of people take prebiotics, but your probiotics aren't really that effective. They're not effective at all, really, without a prebiotic. And a prebiotic is
probiotics. I think I know they be selling it. And I don't know if they market that probiotic nonsense. Like, you take like either some special probiotic prunes or special kielbasa drinks. All those.
Yeah. Now, actually, fermented drinks are excellent for you. If you're gonna take probiotics, that's the best way to take them, to make your own sauerkraut, your own. I call it Cavassier, the beet harvest. To make I'm up in the air with kombucha. I know Dr. Sebi didn't agree with it. Kombucha, and some people don't. I'm up in the air with kombucha, but fermented foods is the way to go with for your probiotics, especially
for your bowel movement. For you make more effective intestinal function.
Yeah. Most probiotics you buy from the store are dead. Even when they're in the refrigerator section, if they're not encapsulated correctly, they're dead even in the refrigerator section.
I agree.
You can go to the best stores. You can go to Sprouts, Whole Foods, and most of their probiotics are going to be dead. To make your own probiotics is really the best way, and then to make sure you're taking in enough fiber, prebiotics, or to get you, some acacia to use as a prebiotic is the best way to utilize the bacteria, to give the bacteria something to really eat on to thrive in the gut. And so that's how you're going to deal with your gut. And now all of this is essential if you're going to heal yourself or boost your immunity to fight off a virus. People think that, give me some elderberry or give me an antiviral. I have antivirals, but I don't, there's a lot of sales that I bypass because I want people to understand I don't want you to spend money on this antiviral, this tincture bottle, and think that that's going to be your cure-all. If your liver is jacked, this antiviral is going to do nothing for you. You may notice a difference and feel good because you're getting in certain nutrients, but you're not going to feel good long term, and that's not what I want to do. It's not my mission to sell you something. It's my mission to help you be an alchemist and change your inner core, your inner body. So, the main thing is to start in your order
and that's to start with your gut. Once you start with your gut, your earth, you will realize that, that your body is fighting a lot of stuff on its own anyway. When you take healing medicines, if your gut is compacted, it all goes to the areas of your gut that is that's damaged.
Congested.
So it doesn't go to the other parts that it's supposed to go to anyway.
Yeah.
So you're wasting your money.
All right.
So you go to your gut, then you go to your kidney, and then lots of herbs for your kidneys. Chancapedra, it breaks up stones in the urine. If you're a man and you have foamy urine, you want to definitely get you some chancapedra. You want to drink you some fennel tea. You can go to the grocery store and get those types of things. And then, there's formulas where you can have a bunch of stuff, mixed together in a kidney formula. And then you work on your liver, some simple dandelion root tea, and some milk thistle, some licorice root, things that, you can get from the grocery store. These are the things that when you hear certain herbs being, certain common herbs being suggested, you can use them for the organs. But then when you move into the big viruses and stuff like that, you're going to have to approach extremely intelligent because you're not dealing with something that's not intelligent. So you're going to have to come up with different things, and you're not going to be able to do a one-shot thing. European medicine, they say, oh, take this pill, and it's a big gun, right? And it has a big shot that comes out. It makes big-ass holes.
Right.
But what you want to do is you want to have you something that shoots a bunch of rounds. So you want to, and something that, this virus hasn't seen before. So a lot of the herbs that we need right now are bound up in the African rainforest. They're bound up, for us, certainly in the American rainforest. Europe actually has more forests than anywhere, and they have a lot of unique herbs over there for their people. But our herbs,
can I interject as well?
Made lightweight
No, you got
coronavirus, things like that are in American South and Florida and Louisiana. So you're talking about like cacao fruto. Dr. Sebi taught us about Pau Pereira. Definitely cat's claw. Cat's claw alone. You just got to switch it up with other things in 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then go back to it after 2 to 4 weeks, and then go to something else. So switch up to a lot of different herbs will defeat it. It's not really complicated. It's just we're actually pretty fortunate because this is a huge evolutional jump medicinally for us. I said I was talking to my husband and I was telling him how amazing the divine intelligence is, because who would have predicted that a guy like Nipsey Hussle would be responsible for helping to, or being utilized rather, to evolve Black youth perception and awareness of self-healing, of moving us out of the institution of medicine and into the intelligence of medicine and self-healing. Who would have thought that? And then certainly lack, if you can't get to hospitals, will make you creative. So that's actually a blessing in a weird way, too. And then you have so many people who are in their domiciles really, really studying this thing. And this is their passion. And this is their time where they're going to be really speaking out. And so I encourage people to listen to a lot of different voices, but certainly to know that, there's an order to healing. There are many herbs to use for different organs, but approach the organs in their order. And the body actually will, it's an amazing machine. It'll actually fight those viruses for you. But then if you need a little extra ammo, those herbs are available for you. They are available for you.
I get you. I understand. Wait, I have a caller up here. You there, caller?
I'm here, brother.
Who's this I'm talking to?
It's brother Supreme, my brother.
Okay, then brother Supreme. What's on your mind?
We going through right now. I'm in England, and we going through the lockdown. Also, mild lockdowns right now. Right now, today, the government said that we're allowed to be outside, but we have to stay at a 2 meter distance from each other. Right now, so it's getting quiet, and we're not allowed to congregate in groups of big groups. So, and all the schools have been cancelled also in the UK.
Okay, that's good.
There's a lot of noise coming in your background,
Huh?
There's a lot of noise coming in your background, bro. There's a lot of noise.
Yeah, that is something. Stay online for a second, caller.
I want to come with some help for the people because I've studied the teachings of Dr. CB for the last 15 years myself. So I want to give some advice to the people. Cheap solutions for people. As I said the other day, I was saying to Tyrone that water is will kill your virus as long as you're drinking plenty of water. You should be all right. There's a Forbes. Actually, if you type in Forbes, there's a Forbes the online article on Forbes that was done on 22nd of March. This is for Tyrone as well, mostly because Tyrone thought I was crazy when I said all he has to do is drink water and you'll get rid of it. But here's a Forbes. I would love to put it in for everyone to follow to find it. Let me see if I can. It says it's Forbes, and the title is "Here's Why You Should Drink, Why You Should Be Drinking Plenty of Water During the Corona virus lockdown." This article was done on the 22nd of March. It was done yesterday by David D. Salvo. So that's from the Forbes newspaper. Billionaire. This is a credible source paper where the Forbes billionaires and all of that there. And they're talking about how why you should be drinking water and how it will help in the corona spread right now. So, and as I said to the brothers and sisters, they say that, fucking hell, man, there's a lot of noise coming in, man. They say that 70% of Americans are chronically dehydrated, and only 1 in 10 people in the UK are drinking enough water. It says here in the study, it says, so here we are sitting. It says the importance of drinking water. It says 1, water helps to maximize physical performance. 2, hydration has a major effect on energy levels and brain function.
You know, it depends on the type of quality water you drink, sir. I'm not sure because you're in Europe right now, right?
Right.
Is there any form of chemical in the water to maintain it, to keep it purified, clean, all that stuff? And
Dr. CB says, right? Dr. CB said always advised to buy a pH neutral water, which is 7.0. In the UK, we can get water called Volvic water. That's the perfect pH from what Dr. CB's information. He said get 7.0. Make sure that the pH is 7.0. Other waters might say 7.4 or might say 6.5. He said anything under 7, Dr. Sebi said, it will make you sick because that's acidic. He says you want to get the right a neutral pH. So he said because if you get a 7 pH water, it won't burn out the nutrients of the food that you eat. You see what I'm saying? So that's the water I get, Volvic. But I would say that just to keep off, if you go and drink, I would say if you can't get pH or 7, if you don't have that in the United States, make sure that the pH in the water is at least over 7. You know what I mean? As long as it's over 7, you should be all right because our pH in our blood should be between 7.2, 7.4. So definitely make sure that it's up. Most people's pH is down anyway, because of all the sugary foods and the junk food and the bad foods that we eat. The average person pH will be of their blood would be lower. If you check your spit, you can get pH strips for about £1 in the UK and probably get them for $1 in America. And you can check your pH, your spit pH, and see how low your pH is. That means, you know what I mean? And you're more likely to get something if catch something. And because if your pH is low, under 7, when you do get the flu can multiply. But the flu or a virus can't multiply in an alkaline condition. So if your pH is over 7, then the virus can't multiply. It'll be harder for it to multiply. See what I'm saying? So that's what I would advise. So I'm just saying to that's just to beat up Tyrone. That he can go and do the research. It's on Forbes. Even Forbes backed up what I said a couple of days ago, that all you need to do is drink plenty of water, especially in this time. And like I said, 70% of people in America are chronically dehydrated. 1 in 10 people in the UK, these are the numbers I've done the statistics on people who are not drinking enough water. Only 1 in 10 people in the UK are drinking enough water. Me and my family, I'm definitely one of the people who are drinking enough water. Definitely. You know what I mean? Because like I said, water is the most important drink on the planet at the end of the day. So that's the cheap way, without having to buy all the herbs and buy this, that, and the other. That's the cheap way of dealing with your health out here. Make sure you drink plenty of water, increase your water. Because when you're drinking the water, you'll be able to flush the virus out of your body. You see what I'm saying? Rather than going and taking pills, going and taking other things. You don't need that. You just need to drink more water. Increase your water. That's the main thing. And if your water is low pH, now anytime you feel like you've got a cold in your throat, I would say get some alkaline drops or alkaline your water. You can do it. You can get some lemon and pour it in your water also to alkaline your water, or you can get apple cider vinegar. Anytime you feel like you're getting mucus and stuff like that, and you're getting, you know what I mean? That's like if you're catching the flu, you're coming up to the flu. That's what you take to get rid of the mucus and stuff like that.
I don't want to hold up more line, but you could probably call in to the after hour because I'm soon end it here. But I appreciate your info and insight, and hope that what goes on in Europe, any part of Europe, especially what's problematic in Italy, that you stay safe. And like I said, you already know what to do in regards to this so-called virus. So I think you got it all packed. Thank you for your insight and ways to combat this virus.
Can I just say something to that?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Wait, sis.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say I agree with him. I definitely agree with him. I just want to say that it does matter. A lot of people, put emphasis on alkaline water. Alkaline water actually oxidates. You don't want to take in too much alkaline water.
Mm-hmm.
It never really is alkaline because if it's in a plastic jug, even the water that says 7.1 and 8.9, once it's exposed, once it's been in a plastic jug,
it's like under 6
for an hour.
It's under 6.
The alkalinity drops. If you put it in a glass jar, you put some baking soda in it, or you put some lime in it, or you sit it in the sun, then it'll alkalize too high, and it actually oxidates. So when you're trying to get rid of something, the water that you want to drink is actually distilled water.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you said about being hydrated and water flushing a lot of things out, water keeping the digestion moving, it's 100% spot on. But if you want to wash something out, you want to use distilled water and alkaline water.
All right.
Sister, let me just add something to the sister. Well, we got to understand, sister, me and you, we eat healthy already. So my pH is like 7. It's not underneath, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of Americans or a lot of people, like I have pH strips, and I might test a friend, and his spit is very. Most people that who don't eat right, their spit, their saliva anyway. When I test it, it's very acidic. Some people are like they got the acidic. Their spit is like of 4, level 4. So that sometimes it might be good for them to have a drink of a pH of 8. You know what I mean? Not too much though. I do understand what you're saying. Too much. If you do drink too much pH water, you can get sick, because I have done that in the past. When I first got into the knowledge of Dr. C, I was drinking a lot of pH, too much pH, because he used to talk about pH. So I kept on everything I was drinking with pH, and I ended up getting sick. And then I realized that I should only drink it sometimes, only when I'm getting sick or I'm getting, like I've got a cold and I can feel the mucus in my throat and I'm sneezing. That's when I go and drink some alkaline juice, and then it gets rid of the nucleus, and I can sleep good, You see what I'm saying, sister?
Okay. All right.
Oh, it's not
Thank
there,
you. Thank you, caller, for calling. All right. Let me see this one last caller, and then I'm going to end the stream. Caller, I open your line. Who's this?
Big J, I just called back and I was gone a while. I'd like to ask the lady doctor a question. If that will be permitted?
Well, she's an alternate person. She's not my actual guest, but you can ask her a question. Go ahead.
Ma'am, can I don't know if you have already answered it. So answer the question, but forgive me if you already have answered it. But what is the difference between the coronavirus and that of the flu?
Okay, can you repeat what he said to me?
All right. The question he asked, what's the difference between the coronavirus and the regular flu? Is that the question, Big J?
Yes. What is the difference?
Yep. That's the question.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I honestly can't give you an answer to that, because if you go by the standard definition that the doctors have to use, that they all accepted, that is taught to them, the coronavirus is described in their medical dictionary as, quote, a common cold, if not even described as the flu. Now, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 is supposed to be a mutation of the coronavirus. So it would be like, if I'm the mom and then I have a son, so we're in the same family, but, it's just a different, a different aspect of me. So the COVID-19 is a mutation of the common cold, basically. But if you listen to the chief doctor on infectious diseases, if you listen to the president, if you listen to the Wuhan scientists, they all have different definitions for what corona is. I've even heard that COVID is just a different mutation of the bird flu, of that strain. So I wish I could tell you what the difference is, because I can just tell you that the legal accepted definition of coronavirus is a common cold. It's not even a flu. So.
Thank you for your time, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you, BJ. Thank you. All right. I guess that's the people that called in, and I guess I said enough on and my take on history and disease. So I think I'll end it here. I'd like to thank everybody for listening in to tonight's stream and broadcast. Like always, please leave a comment and like during and at the end of this stream and podcast, and be on the lookout for the next stream. So till next time, take care, my people. Good night.
Comment, subscribe, and like the video. And you can follow me on Twitter at ChaosReign7. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let the chaos